customers tend to be refused loans by banks, but the government believes credit unions can help reduce this financial exclusion. By contributing small but regular amounts from their salary or benefits, members become eligible for far cheaper loans than the banks or loan sharks can offer. This is the rundown council flat which the elderly parents of Dougie McCandlish were desperate to leave. When their bank refused to lend them the money to buy a new property, their son applied for the loan himself. He too was refused. Finally, he asked the credit union who granted the loan.
My mother doesn't have to climb stairs any longer. My dad's now got a hobby in doing the garden, which he's quite pleased about at times. And it's basically all that's down to the credit union helping us out with that, whereas the banks let us down.
To join a credit union, members must share a common bond, such as a workplace or a neighbourhood. The Glasgow City Council Workers' Credit Union believes it's better equipped than a bank to help the less well-off.
The main difference between credit unions and the banks are, as we will consider loans as low as £100. A bank will not give a loan of less than £800 to £1,000.
Plans to make it easier to join a credit union were announced today. The government also wants loan repayment periods to be extended.
We want to see credit unions really fulfil their potential in this country, especially to help people in low-income neighbourhoods. And I think to do that, we've got to lift some of the restrictions on it.
The government hopes that credit unions will give the low-paid and the unemployed greater access to low-cost credit. But with fewer than 1% of British adults currently a member of a credit union, compared with 50% in Canada and 40% in the Republic of Ireland, it'll be some time before a radical change takes place. Denise Mahoney, BBC News at the Treasury.
Stargazers and astronomers are preparing for a spectacular meteor show tomorrow night, but satellite operators are worried about possible damage caused by the small particles in the Leonid meteor shower, which travel at nearly 200 times the speed of a bullet.
Okay, that's minus 19.6 degrees.
Like hundreds of scientists around the world, these specialists in London today are on alert. They work for Inmarsat, which runs communication satellites. With squadrons of meteoroids heading for Earth, they're taking no chances. The meteoroids may be small, but if one hits a satellite, it could be knocked out.
We are reinforcing our operational staff. We have people coming across from the United States to support us from our own offices in the States. We are well rehearsed in contingency procedures.
The meteoroids are tiny particles left behind by the comet Tempel-Tuttle as it swept past the Sun earlier this year. Tomorrow, the Earth will pass through the particles. There's no danger to us, but for any satellite which gets in the way, it could be serious.
2, 1, fire!
At the University of Kent, they've simulated what can happen when a tiny particle hits a satellite. Most of the Leonid particles are smaller than a grain of sand, but they're travelling at nearly 160,000 miles an hour. At that speed, the damage they can do can be considerable.
There are some 200 to 300 communication satellites working, many navigational satellites, perhaps a total of 2,000 working satellites. And we're certainly predicting that a handful of these might well be knocked out.
Spacecraft like the Hubble Space Telescope are being turned so their solar panels are edge-on to the approaching storm to minimize the chances they'll be hit. People in China will get the best view. They may see something like this.
The larger particles create what we call fireballs, and these can be extremely spectacular, bright objects that can sometimes break into many different bits. And you see them almost like sparklers coming across the sky, and you can sometimes see orange and green sparks.
In Britain, we may not see much this time. For us, it's likely to be much more spectacular at the same time next year. James Wilkinson, BBC News.
The Prime Minister will outline his vision of how the economy is shaping up when he addresses...
With her debut album, Voice Like an Angel, the 12-year-old is finding out that true heaven is a place in the charts.
It's very exciting, but because it's all happening so fast, you have to make sure, you know, you're not getting too up with the fairies and have to keep your feet firmly on the ground. So I've got a strong family around me, and, you know, everybody's really supportful and helpful, and so many phone at my mum and go, "Is Charlotte asleep yet?" And my mum goes, "Yeah, she's asleep." So, you know, and everybody's, like, keeping a really close eye on me.
She was the youngest performer at the gala celebration for Prince Charles's 50th birthday and shared the limelight with pop idol George Michael at a charity ball to raise money for sick children. Her album has already sold more than 18,000 copies, putting her at number 24 in the chart and straight in at number 1 in the classical chart. And that, say the experts, is where she'll probably still be at Christmas.
I think what's special about Charlotte is she has a voice that's got a maturity way beyond her years, even though she's only been singing professionally for a very few short years.
The record label Sony snapped her up after she gave just a 5-second performance with her aunt at a TV talent show. Now she's centre stage and looking forward to meeting who else but the Spice Girls for Children in Need on Friday. Jane O'Brien, BBC News.
Manchester